The laughter echoed across the small town square when her name was announced, sharp and careless, cutting through the chilly afternoon air like it belonged there. People turned to look, some amused, some confused, some openly mocking, as a homeless woman stepped forward with worn shoes, a donated coat, and eyes that had learned how to survive disappointment. No one believed the raffle ticket in her hand could possibly change anything, least of all them, least of all her. But that was the moment everything quietly began to shift. If you believe in silent heroes and second chances, and in hope that arrives when life feels finished, take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Stories like this live on only because people who still believe choose to support them. Her name was Rebecca Miller, a 43-year-old woman who had lived most of the last 2 years without a permanent place to sleep. Once, she had been a farmhand's daughter in rural Ohio, raised on scripture, soil, and early mornings. Her parents taught her how to mend fences, care for animals, and trust God even when the weather ruined crops. Life was simple then, and though money was always tight, love filled the gaps. But time has a way of scattering even the strongest roots. Her parents passed within months of each other. The family land sold to pay debts, and Rebecca drifted into the city, chasing work that never lasted. A factory job came and went. A short marriage ended quietly and painfully. Medical bills piled up after an untreated illness left her weak for months. By the time she realized she was sinking, there was no one left to call. Shelters became temporary homes. Park benches became familiar. She learned how to disappear in plain sight, how to keep her dignity while asking for nothing. The raffle that day was part of a town fundraiser, meant to save a failing historical farm on the edge of town. Most tickets were bought by locals who treated it like a joke, a novelty, or a way to support tradition. Rebecca bought one ticket with spare change she had earned cleaning a church basement. She did not dream of winning. She only liked the idea of being part of something normal, something hopeful, even for a moment. When the mayor read her name, the laughter came naturally to the crowd. They saw a homeless woman and assumed charity, mistake, or pity. No one imagined that the prize, an abandoned but deeded farm property, could possibly belong to someone like her. The smile Rebecca forced onto her face was practiced, thin and protective. She walked forward anyway, shoulders back, accepting the papers with quiet grace. The farm sat several miles outside town, long forgotten and overgrown. Broken fences leaned like tired soldiers. The house roof sagged in places, and weeds swallowed the path to the front door. Most assumed the property was worthless, a symbolic prize more than a real one. Some even joked she could finally sleep indoors, if the walls did not collapse first. Rebecca stood alone on the land days later, holding the keys she barely believed were hers. The air smelled like wet earth and old wood. Memories stirred painfully, reminding her of childhood mornings and her father's steady hands. She stepped into the house slowly, bracing herself for disappointment. Inside, time had been preserved rather than destroyed. Furniture lay covered in dust but intact. Old photographs lined the walls, faces she did not recognize but felt connected to somehow. The kitchen table still held a ledger, handwritten notes, and sealed envelopes stacked carefully in a drawer. This was no abandoned ruin. This was a life paused. As Rebecca explored further, she discovered the barn was locked. Inside, beneath hay and forgotten equipment, she found something that stunned her into silence. Hidden beneath false flooring was a fully stocked storm cellar converted into a workspace, complete with tools, preserved supplies, and neatly organized records. Documents revealed that the farm once belonged to a reclusive farmer named Thomas Caldwell, a man who had quietly used the land to support struggling families during hard seasons, offering food, work, and shelter without recognition. More astonishing were the legal papers. Thomas had established a trust meant to revive the farm as a community resource. When he passed away without heirs, bureaucratic confusion left the property neglected. The raffle had unknowingly transferred ownership to someone who fit the purpose better than any wealthy bidder ever could. Rebecca spent nights reading by flashlight, absorbing the weight of what she had inherited. Not wealth in the traditional sense, but responsibility, possibility, and purpose. For the first time in years, she cried without fear, not from loss, but from hope. Restoring the farm was not easy. The house needed repairs. The land needed care. Rebecca needed strength she was not sure she still possessed. But she had learned resilience the hard way. She sought help from the same church that once offered her a warm meal. Slowly, volunteers arrived. A retired carpenter. A teenage boy needing community service hours. A woman who remembered Thomas Caldwell's kindness decades earlier. The town watched from a distance. Curiosity replacing mockery. Rebecca worked harder than anyone. Hands blistered, body aching, but spirit alive. She planted crops, repaired fencing, and reopened the barn as a shared space. Food was donated to shelters. The farmhouse hosted weekly meals for anyone who needed them. What stunned the town most was not the hidden cellar or the trust documents. It was Rebecca herself, the woman they laughed at became the quiet heart of something bigger. She never spoke about being homeless unless asked. She never sought praise. She simply lived the life the land seemed to ask of her. If this story has touched your heart, if it has reminded you that purpose often arrives disguised as loss, please take a moment to share, and engage with this video so others can feel this hope too. Months later, the farm was officially renamed Caldwell Second Harvest, a place where people struggling could work, learn, and belong. Rebecca slept in the small upstairs room, content not because she owned land, but because she found home again. Before we end, we have one special request. Comment the word hope if you believe that no one is ever too far gone to be chosen for something meaningful. The town no longer laughed when Rebecca walked through the square. They nodded. They smiled. Some even thanked her. But the greatest change was quieter than all of that. A woman once invisible now stood rooted in purpose, proving that sometimes the greatest inheritances are not hidden in wealth, but in the chance to become who you were always meant to be.